Welcome once again to another edition of Good Books Radio. I'm your host this week, Dr. John Cook, and with me today is Dr. Susan Shumsky. Dr. Shumsky has dedicated her life to helping people take command of their lives in highly effective, powerful, and positive ways. She's the author of 10 books published by Simon & Schuster, Random House, and New Page, and a pioneer in the human potential field. She's spent more than 45 years teaching thousands of people meditation, prayer, affirmation, and intuition. Her book titles include Miracle Prayer, Divine Revelation, Exploring Meditation, Exploring Auras, Exploring Chakras, How to Hear the Voice of God, Ascension, Instant Healing, The Power of Auras, and The Power of Chakras. And we're going to be talking today about the second edition, I believe, of The Power of Auras, which is not yet out. I was reading it online. Dr. Shumsky, welcome to the program.
I'm so thrilled to be here today, John.
Let's do a little bit more about your background, because I was impressed as I was reading The Power of Auras about how much commitment you have to thoroughly researching things, and you've covered various kinds of spiritual literature from the Vedic scriptures to Judeo-Christian literature. You have a lot of biological and physical sciences research. So tell us a little bit about how you know so much.
Well, I've been practicing and studying spiritual disciplines for more than 45 years. I spent 22 years in an ashram. An ashram is a place where you go to study with a spiritual master from India. So I studied with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who is the founder of Transcendental Meditation, and he was the guru of the Beatles and of Deepak Chopra. Spent 22 years there. I spent 7 of those years on his personal staff, on Maharishi's personal staff, and then went on to study with other masters, teachers, scriptures. Have studied New Thought, metaphysics for another more than 25 years, became a doctor of divinity, and have written 10 books. So I've been studying for quite a long time, and I've written several books, and have done quite a bit of research as I've been writing the books as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is an interesting read, and again, I think it's very well documented and just fascinating how many different ways you go about trying to demonstrate for us the importance of understanding the energy fields of our universe. I noticed that in the preface that you said something about how the planet is undergoing a spiritual transition, that we can't rely on governments or employers or pensions, that everything's uncertain right now, and that's part of why this book is important at this time, The Power of Auras.
Right. And the reason why it's important is because people need to learn how to rely on themselves. They need to learn how to heal the untoward energies that are within them and around them. They need to learn how to become more self-sufficient, how to attain what I call self-authority. And self-authority, it means that you are acknowledging that you are, in fact, in charge of your own life, which is the truth anyway, so it's a good idea for you to recognize that and to be aware of it and to take command of your pathway. Otherwise, something else will take command of your pathway. So it's really important that you become self-sufficient, and so I teach people ways to do that.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned other things taking hold. I know that one of the things that you address in the book is something you call psychic sponge syndrome, where people are too apt to absorb things that are not good for their well-being.
Well, that's certainly a way to describe it. It's a good definition of it, what you just said. A psychic sponge is a person who absorbs the energies around them as a sponge absorbs water. So that means that they're walking around being debilitated all day. They wake up in the morning feeling okay, but then by the time they get to work, they're already starting to get drained and exhausted, and as they go through their day, various psychic vampires around them, those are human beings, by the way, they're not actual vampires, various psychic vampires are draining their energy. These are kind of needy people, or people who are really trying to seek attention and trying to get energy from other people. So, and even though they're not necessarily doing that consciously, it's not malicious or anything, it's just that people who are psychic sponges, they get drained by these people, these seemingly needy people, and especially if they're dealing with the public in general. If their job involves dealing a lot with the public, then they may get drained by these people. By the end of the day, they feel like they've been dragged through the mud all day. All they can do is just lie on their bed and just totally exhausted at the end of the day, totally drained. So if any of your listeners can relate at all to that idea of being a psychic sponge, then you need to learn how to prevent this kind of psychic attack that's taking place all day.
Well, let's start with prana. The aura is made up of prana, but let's start with prana, which you define at one point in the book as a precious, invisible, imperceptible substance that animates your body. But there's more to it than that, isn't there?
Well, prana is that which gives life to everything, not just living things, but the entire universe. In fact, there's cosmic prana and there's individual prana. And prana is that which animates and gives life to this physical body. We have many layers to our body, our subtle body, and one of those layers is called the prana maya kosha. Kosha means the sheath, and prana is that life force energy that's coursing through that particular body. We have not only this gross physical body, we have these subtle bodies. And the pranic body is the body that's made up of energy tubes through which prana flows, and the tubes are called nadi, N-A-D-I. And the pranic energy is sometimes called prana, sometimes it's called chi, C-H-I, or ki, K-I. In China, it's called chi. In Japan, it's called ki. And in India, it's called prana. So that is that which gives life to the body. It is said in the ancient scriptures of India that when the prana is in the body is alive, and when prana leaves the body is dead. This physical body is simply a shell. It doesn't have any life of its own. It's the prana, the pranic body, that gives the body life. So the pranic body is making it move, making it animate, and also it is making it experience, and it is giving warmth. It makes the body warm, so the body will go cold when it dies because prana is no longer in the body.
And you mentioned chi and ki as a couple of words, but you also say in there that 97 cultures have words for prana, and so it's recognized in a variety of cultures from throughout history.
That's correct. In all cultures and throughout history, it is a life force energy that has been recognized. But amazingly, in our modern society, in Western medicine, it doesn't seemingly exist. They don't give any credence to it. Allopathic doctors, people who are Western medicine, they only see this body as something mechanical that's made up of tubes and vessels and things and organs and so on, and they just don't see any invisible aspect of the body, which is really what gives this body life.
And I remember one of the American scientists had his records taken, and he was imprisoned in Maine for some time for researching this.
He's not the only one. A lot of people have been. When they can actually find a cure for something, they soon find themselves in jail and everything confiscated from their office.
Now, I spent a little time with your experiences of trying to sense your aura with my fingertips and some of the other things you ask us to do in there. And part of what helps people is being able to perceive their aura, which is made up of prana. And if you can intensify the pranic energy, that increases your vitality and your health and your power and your influence and your charisma. But if you're continually drained by every thought, word, and deed, then it's a good thing it's so easy to replenish it with breath and sunlight and water and air and food, and especially thought. You want to talk a little bit about a vibrant and healthy aura and how we help maintain that?
Right. So the thing is that you touched on quite a few points there as you were talking about that. And the reality is that our pranic body, our auric field, can be vitalized, and it can be drained. It can be healthy, vibrant, and strong, and have vibrant colors in it and vibrant energies in it, positive thoughts and emotions, or it can be devitalized. It can actually show and indicate illness. It can show and indicate weakness. And it is possible for us to increase the energy of our field through various means, because prana, usually people equate prana with breath. In fact, they translate it as breath, but in fact it isn't just in the breath. Prana is in a lot of different things that you mentioned. For example, it's in sunlight, it's in food. Mm-hmm. It's not just in breath. Mm-hmm. And we can vitalize our energy, for example, by doing something called pranayama. Pranayama is a yogic practice, which is deep breathing. And through the deep breathing practice, we can increase our pranic energy. We can increase the vitality of our field. Also using, for example, mantras, which are sacred sounds, using light and color, another way to increase our pranic energy, and by chewing our food properly, by masticating food until it's liquid, we can increase the pranic energy in our field. So there's many ways to increase prana, and also by eating living foods that are not dead and old and have been sitting around in the refrigerator for 3 days, old pizza and so on. Mm-hmm. By eating food that is live, that is, for example, salads and raw foods and things like that, have more pranic energy in them than other kinds of foods. So we can definitely do a lot of things to increase the energy of our field. Those people who have a great magnetic, charismatic energy field, they're more successful. You know, they have a greater prosperity, they have greater health, happiness, and some of them, in fact, become celebrities. And nearly all celebrities have greater pranic energy in their field. That's the reason why so many people are attracted to them, and why they have so much success, fame, fortune, and basically good luck. Mm-hmm. Good luck comes from increased pranic energy. Mm-hmm. So it behooves anybody to increase the energy of their field. It's a good idea to practice methods that will do that. Meditation is a good thing. Anything that will make you healthy and strong. Meditation, prayer, positive thinking, positive actions.
And you mentioned raw, healthy foods, too. That's a good one.
Positive foods, yes. All these things will help to create greater energy in your field. Mm-hmm.
Now, I have, as I said, I've been playing with some of the exercises you have in the book to be able to sense your aura. I feel like I'm probably not clairvoyant, those who can see it, but I might be clairsentient. But you talk about the difference in a healthy person. A vibrant, large, expanded, bright, smooth, energetic aura surrounds a healthy individual with pranic energy, and a small, contracted, dark, dingy, stifled, lethargic, jagged, sluggish aura surrounds a person who's ill or depressed or depleted or emotionally distressed. And I think there are times, you mentioned people going to work and feeling difficulties, when I'm in the stifled, lethargic, jagged stage. So when we're going through that, it's important to remember these practices, yes?
Right. So the thing is, also in the book, The Power of Auras, I teach people specific affirmations and prayers to help them to clear out their energy field and to increase the energy in their field. And it can really help. I mean, these things are, it's not just a fantasy. If you can eliminate the, I'm going to start like a song here, eliminate the negative words onto the affirmative. Mm-hmm. If you can eliminate negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and instead affirm positive feelings, thoughts, and emotions, then you're going to have a better life. You're going to be happier, basically. Your energy is going to be better. And unfortunately, people don't really understand about healing. They don't understand how to keep their energy field clear and clean, and how to increase the energy in their field. But you can do that. Mm-hmm. And you also touched upon, when you were just expressing there, you said something about how you feel that you're not clairvoyant, but maybe you're clairsentient. The reality is that almost everyone can feel auras, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Very few people can see them,
mm-hmm.
but almost everyone. If you've ever walked into a place and you felt, oh, this has a bad vibe, or gee, I don't want to be here. There's something in the air. There's something in the atmosphere. It feels like maybe somebody just had an argument here. Or if you meet a person for the first time and you feel, oh, this person feels really friendly, this person feels really open, this person has a lot of love around them, you're sensing that person's energy field. Or if you feel another person, wow, this person just has a bad vibe. This person has a strong, really dense energy. Or you walk into, for example, a prison or a bar or a mental hospital or a hospital or an educational institution or a place, an old theater, an old house, an old seemingly haunted house. You walk into these places and you sense bad vibes.
Mm-hmm.
You walk into other places, oh, this place feels really great. I love being in this place. Or you walk around in nature. You walk outside. You walk by a gentle stream or in trees or by the ocean, and you feel, wow, this place feels really great, and you feel revitalized from walking through such places. So what that indicates is that you're clairsentient. Everybody is. Mm-hmm. Everyone can feel energy fields, mm-hmm. subtle energy. And that's really, the detection of auras is not just seeing them. It's also can be feeling an auric field. And many people can see auras better with their eyes closed rather than their eyes open. When they have their eyes closed, maybe they'll see all kinds of things in another person's energy field, whereas when their eyes are open, they can't see any subtle energies at all.
Mm-hmm. I've contemplated greatly because I've done a lot of reading in New Thought literature myself, and the interconnectedness of these energies and our relationship to the universe becomes clear as you describe the different levels in a couple of places in the book. But one of the things that really struck me was the TM studies, the Transcendental Meditation studies, show an increase in the number of meditators in a city improves the quality of life. It reduces crime and traffic accidents and unemployment and inflation, and actually global conflicts tend to reduce when more people are meditating.
Yes, amazingly enough. My guru happened to have a theory that if a certain percentage of people would meditate, that we would achieve world peace. This was his whole modus operandi, in fact. This was his entire goal and mission in his life, was to save the planet, so to speak, mm-hmm. and to help people to create a peaceful, happy world. He would always say that if we want the forest to be green, that every tree in the forest must be green. In other words, what he's saying is that individuals are the key to creating a happy, healthy society, that we have to change individuals. We can't really legislate these changes. People have to become more strong within themselves, more powerful within themselves, and have a greater inner peace, and then the world will become a peaceful place. So the reality is that he did his minions, his devotees, did a lot of scientific research. They did over 500 scientific studies mm-hmm. on the effects of transcendental meditation, and many of those studies had to do with what Maharishi would do is send a group of meditators into a place, for example, a war-torn area or high-crime area or something. And then they would measure, when these people are practicing their meditation together in large groups, when they're doing what they call the TM City program together in groups, what happens? Does the crime rate decrease? Is there more peacefulness? What the indicators of life, mm-hmm. of positive life, are they going up or down? So they did find that, in fact, statistically significant results were taking place as a result of people meditating together. Mm-hmm. So energy is real, and people can affect energy through their thoughts, their words, and their deeds. And in fact, when people meditate together, it does have a positive effect on society.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he really proved is that subtle energies are real and that they have power,
mm-hmm.
And that we can affect our world through such positive practices as meditation.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to shift gears just for a little bit since it's Halloween week and talk with you about when at death the vital sheath or the pranic body, the astral body, lifts from the food sheath, the physical body, and that there's a silver cord attached at the navel, and at the point when we make our transition to the other world, that silver cord is severed from the vital sheath, and we leave the body, and the body grows cold, as you mentioned earlier, and that astral body or that pranic body survives death as a ghost or a spirit. Am I being accurate?
Exactly. So the thing is that you were talking about the sheaths. There's 5 sheaths: the physical and the vital and the mental and the intellect and the causal sheath. And those 5 sheaths, when they leave the physical, when the 4 other sheaths, when they leave the physical sheath, what happens is really nothing happens. They just leave, mm-hmm. and they move on, and no longer does the body have life to it. That life goes with the individual, the person, the personality. The individual doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
When we die, we just continue to think, continue to see, hear, taste, smell. We continue to have our senses. That's the reason why people who have had the near-death experience, they continue to have experiences while they are flatlined, while the body is dead, mm-hmm. temporarily. So then we move on into a light, into a divine light, and eventually, for ordinary people, we reincarnate into another body. Mm-hmm. We take all of our skills, all of our talents, all of our feelings, our habits, our conditioning, our beliefs. We take all that with us, and we take it to the next body, next incarnation. So that's the reason why you find child prodigies. Mm-hmm. Like, why is this person all of a sudden they can play the piano at age 3? Well, it didn't just come out of the blue. It isn't some kind of magic. The reality is that they learned that in a past life, and they're bringing it on into this life.
Now, you talk about crossing over and reincarnation, but why is it that some people become ghosts and others cross over into the light?
Right. So there are some people who, for various reasons, I've counted 15 different reasons, they do not move into that divine light after death. They get stuck, stranded. They end up in a place that I call the astral world. So they are earthbound. They're called earthbound spirits, meaning they didn't move on into the light. And they are kind of stuck in what they call limbo or a purgatory or the astral. I call it the astral plane.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the reasons might be perhaps they had an unexpected or violent or accidental death, and they just suddenly get catapulted out of their body. They don't even realize that they're dead. And that's the reason why there are many battlefields that are filled with ghosts that are haunted, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a movie, actually, that depicted this. It was called The Sixth Sense, where the character Bruce Willis was shot to death, and he did not expect to be dead, and he kind of was propelled out of his body, and he just continued to live as though he were alive. He didn't know he was dead. So that's just an unawareness of your own death, mm-hmm. would be one reason.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason would that be the individual does not even believe in God. They don't believe in a life, in the light. They don't believe in the afterlife. And so they don't believe anything happens after death. And that's the reason why they're prevented from seeing or entering the light, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. You actually said at one point that the capacities and tendencies endure after death, so whatever the thoughts that made up that particular individual are, that may preclude their passing over, is what you're saying. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay.
If they don't believe in an afterlife, then they just won't move on. Mm-hmm. They'll be stuck. for a while. They can be stuck for a very long time, even.
Interesting.
Birds can be stuck for centuries.
Wow. We are at the University of Texas at Brownsville. We occupy an old fort that was involved in several battles, and there's lots of ghost stories around this place. What should we do if we think we sense a ghostly presence?
Well, yeah, if you'd like, I can teach you just a little prayer that you can use to speak lovingly to the ghost and help them to move on. Very simple prayer. Would you like me to say that?
Please.
Okay, so you're just speaking lovingly directly to the ghosts or ghosts that need healing, speaking directly to them, filling and surrounding them with love and light and forgiveness and helping them to move on to the light. So you're just kind of convincing them to move into the light, and you just say something like this. Beloved ones, you are unified with the truth of your being. You are lifted in divine love. You are forgiven of all guilt and shame. You are healed and released from loss, pain, confusion, and fear. Divine love and light fill and surround you now. Attachment to the earth no longer binds you. You are free to go into the divine light now. Go now in peace and love.
That's beautiful. One of the questions I've always wanted to ask about ghosts is, can they hurt us? Should we be afraid of them?
Well, I don't think that you ever really need to fear anything. If you know how to heal it, then there's no reason to fear it. And there's definitely no reason to fear an invisible being who happens to be around you. Main thing is to help them. They need help. They are unhappy. Some of them are even tormented, and they need help. They want to go into the light. They don't know how. They're just confused. So most of them are just confused. Most of them are not malevolent. Most of them are not demonic. Most of them are not trying to do something harmful to any living human. They just want to go into the light. They want to move on. And you can just talk to them, convince them, cajole them, love them mainly. Love is really the main healer here.
In cases where the soul wanders the earth for centuries, what is behind that? Is it just that they've never had the opportunity to have their auric field cleaned, or what is that?
Okay, so people who wander the earth for centuries, it's usually because they are overly attached to the earth plane.
Okay.
Perhaps they are haunting a building that they used to live in or that they used to work in. They might be acting on the stage of a theater that they used to act in, or they might want to stick around their loved ones, and they are overly attached to them and will not move on. But the ones that are sticking around for centuries, it's because they are overly attached to the physical plane. And some of them are also very confused, or they might be in an endless loop kind of thing where they're just living out something over and over and over again. And they really are tormented. They need help. They need to move on. And by praying for that ghost, you can really help it to move on into the light.
Well, unfortunately, we're about out of time here, but I just want to say to our listeners, this is an interesting read, The Power of Auras. The new edition is coming out soon. I've been inspired to look at the library by Dr. Susan Shumsky to learn more, because it's a in-depth exploration of areas that we all need to know more about for the sake of our well-being in the world. I want to remind you that if you don't hear our program at its 4 broadcast times during the week, we're also on Facebook on Good Books Radio and www.goodbooksradio.com. I'm your host, Dr. John Cook. Thanks for listening.